Hi everyone, Amber here from So Majestic. It is month 10 already of our Carnival Puzzle Mystery Quilt. I have my small lemonade. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to put it all together. If you watched the live reveal on Cotton Cut's YouTube channel, I was on and some other ambassadors and guests, and I had my small lemonade, but I had the best surprise this weekend. I got extra borders in the mail from Cotton Cuts. So now my quilt is a little bit extended, so big that doesn't even fit in the whole video. But the extra borders are amazing. So I'm going to walk you through how to put the whole quilt together and the extra borders. Thank you again to Cotton Cuts for allowing me to be an ambassador for your Carnival Puzzle Mystery Quilt. And as always, if you find this video helpful or enjoyed it, please consider giving it a thumbs up or subscribing to my channel. Enjoy the video. Okay, so I have everything laid out in front of me so far. I have my Clue 10 here from Cotton Cuts, which I'm just going to set to the side for now because we don't need it right away. And I have my instructions and my color card, of course. And then I have each month in its bag, and they have sticky notes on them for this section. So you can see here, bag 1, section 1. Through this one, you can see it has 2B, 2A is behind it. So that's how I prefer to keep all my different quilt pieces organized as I'm putting the entire thing together. And what I do is I just pull one at a time. And you can see as the video goes on, I'm going to start out here on the table where I have a little bit of space, but as this quilt gets bigger, I'm actually going to have to move to the floor. And I just tell you that because I don't want you to be discouraged if you do not have like a quilting wall or a large sewing room. You can definitely make it work. So we have here our clue, and this is going to be our finished quilt. It has all the information. This here is everything that comes in month 10. It tells you the batting and the backing that you need and if you ordered extra borders. So my instructions today are going to be all the way up through month 10. I'm not showing like attaching batting or backing or binding, and I do not have the extra borders. And again, this is for the small size, and I am sewing up the lemonade colorway, but all smalls will have the same instructions. So we're starting here. We're going to build our center section of the quilt. So we need section 4B and 9B and 2B. So how I keep them all organized is I only grab what I need at the time. So let's start with 4. Here's 4. And I keep all my instructions because it has the different sections. Okay. And our 4B are these smaller pieces here, or smaller squares. And since I'm not using 4A right yet anyways, I put that back in the bag so I don't lose anything. These are just some tips to help stay organized. Also, I'm going to need 2B, which are also these squares here. Actually, I had dropped my sticky note, so restuck that. And I need 9. Yeah. And going forward, I'll have these like probably pulled out already for the next instructions, but I just wanted to show you how I keep mine organized. So this small one is 9B. The larger one I have in here, 9A. And I prefer to use clips, but you can use pins. And we are going to attach our 4B section. That is going to be on top. And I keep my color card here so you can see that the 4B our A fabric is in the bottom right-hand corner. And for the lemonade, that is the white. And then I need 9B in the middle. And again, the A, so the white fabric, is on the right-hand side. And then I have a 2B at the bottom. Again, with the white A fabric on the right-hand side. So these three together, we're going to make 2 of these sections. So what I'm going to do is it tells you to start at the top, so that's where I'm going to start. I'm folding them right sides together, and I'm lining up the centers first, because I want to make sure that those seams are aligned. And then I'll match up the rest of my edges. You know what? I'm actually going to clip them on the same time. So this is going to open up. That will be on the top. This one, this is our our 2B section is going to flip up. So again, right sides together. And I'm aligning that center seam. And I always clip the center seams, or the seams that need to align first, and then the exterior edges. And then I'm going to take this to the machine and sew both sides here at that 1/4 inch seam allowance. And again, just to show you before I start sewing, I'm using the Aurifil thread that came with, or that you could purchase to match the colorway. I'm sewing on a Singer 5528. I have a 7010 universal needle in, and then I have a mini iron and pressing mat here. And as the quilt gets bigger, I might expand to like my larger iron. Okay, so I have just sewed my seams. So our first seam, we are pressing up towards the top. So I am going to press the back first and then gently open and press from the front. And then our second seam, we are pressing towards the bottom square. So again, I'm pressing from the back side to help set that seam, and then gently open it and pressing from the front. And then if anytime, sometimes other seams get pressed the wrong way, like that one kind of folded back on itself, so I just fix them as I go to help me, so that way later on they're all nice and flat, or as flat as I can get them. Okay, so this is our first section here, and we need to do that twice. So I'm going to sew the other set off camera since I walked through this one completely. Okay, so this was our step 1, and you can see that I have both pieces here, and I'm just going to set them to the side for now. So we're going to be working with some different sections, and I take my sticky notes, and you can reuse them and set them to the side, but definitely put them somewhere where they're not going to stick to your new pieces, so that way you don't get confused. Okay, so I have set my step 1s to the side over here, and I have pulled out my section 5B and 7B. So you can see here I have them labeled. What's nice is we are only making one of these sections, so there was only one block for 5B and one for 7B. So 5B, I already have it facing the way we need, with our B rectangles towards the top, which for us is that golden brown color, and the D squares, So these teal green squares are towards the bottom. So then we're going to attach 7B to the bottom of 5B. So I am going to make sure that it is rotated so this teal, let me just slide it so I can see, that this teal square here is going to line up with these others. It makes that, I don't know, diamond, I guess, in the center, you can call it. So I'm going to take off my notes, and then I'm going to flip this up, right sides together. And actually, before I do that, let me show you. We have 2 seams here that need to match up. So when I flip them right sides together, I'm going to clip them first. And if you sewed accurate seam allowances, or consistent, I should say, they should line up already for you. So I'm just taking my time. I can see that they're like nesting together. You can also like hold it up if you need to. So I always clip those seams first, and then I clip my edges. And don't stress out if your blocks are not perfect. Like you can see here, the teal fabric overhangs it a little bit. That I don't worry about because I can just hide it in the seam allowances when that side gets sewed. So now I'm going to take this to the machine and sew across the bottom. Okay, and on our instructions, our little arrows are pointing down. So we are going to press our seam allowances down towards that bottom block. So again, I'm pressing from the back side first. And then gently opening, making sure not to tug, and pressing my seams from the front. And then I also take the time to, again, press seams that seem like they're popping up, just to try to make my quilt as flat as possible. And you can see here that it looks pretty good where I had lined up those center seams. So I'm very happy with how this piece turned out. All right, so now we are on step 3. So we are attaching the 2 pieces that we sewed in step 1 to our center piece that we just sewed right there in step 2. So step 2, you should see that it's like a mirror image. So on the bottom, I have the B rectangles, and same thing on the top. So now what we need to do with our 2 pieces from step 1, we need to rotate one of them. And you'll see, so the white here is on the inside. And you can see right in the picture, in the top right hand corner, you should have your D fabric, which is the teal for lemonade. Down here should be your blue E fabric. And then you're going to do the same thing on this side here, just reverse. So that way our A fabric, in our case the white, is facing in and almost forms like a giant square. So again, I'm just checking. I have my E fabric in the top left-hand corner, my D fabric in the bottom left-hand corner. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip these one at a time and take my time, because you can see that on every single section, there's seams that match up for both sides. So I'm going to take my time and clip both of them, so that way when I go to the machine, I'm sewing both sides. Here's an example over here where you can see my white fabric hangs over a little bit, but this is more consistent. So I'm going to use this edge, and this will overhang a bit, and just hide that in the seam allowance. So that's what I mean, not to stress if your fabric blocks are not perfectly straight or they're off a little bit, you can hide it in. I have just finished sewing along the sides here, and our arrows are pointing out. So we are pressing our seams towards those outside edges. Again, I'm just using the space that I have to press this the best that I can. I noticed that there was a little seam flipping there, so. And I'm pressing the back first, and then gently opening it. And you don't want to tug, but I definitely want to make sure that my seams are not flipping back on themselves. And so far, it seems like the seams have matched up pretty well. I'm not entering my quilts in any shows, so there's another reason why I'm not so particular. And I know that any non-quilter is not even going to notice. Okay, so you can see that I have one side pressed open. So now I'm going to flip it around and press the other side open. Okay, so I apologize. I realized that one of the angles, my elbow, was in the way. So for the next one, I'm going to do a different camera angle when I'm ironing. So we have just finished our step 3. We have our nice center square. I'm just double checking like the different fabrics, making sure that everything is aligned, nothing looks off. So I do not want to get into the middle of my quilt and then realize that I have a mistake. So it looks good. So I'm going to set this to the side and we are going to move on to the left and right sections of the center row. Okay, so we have just finished up step 3 for the center section, and I have set that aside. I've also moved the different months from back there just to give myself some more space. And we are now making the left and right sections of that center row. So we need an 8B, a 6B, and a 4A, and we're making 2 of these. So I have already pulled out the sections that I need. So 8B is going to be on top, and I've turned it because the F square is going to be in the top left corner, and then below that is going to be a 6B. And the A triangles are on the right hand side, so the white is matching up. And then the B triangles are on the left-hand side. So again, we have 4 different seams here that match up on this opposite side. So I'm going to fold the right sides together and clip them into place. Again, I'm matching up my seams first. Most of them should line up nicely and nest together if you kept a consistent seam allowance. So far, they seem to be lining up pretty good. So I always clip my seams first and then the edges. And I'm gonna do two sew both lines at once. So I'm gonna fold this back open because that's our center. So again, we have the 8B piece on top with the F square in the corner, our 6B in the middle, and now on the bottom here, we need our 4A piece, and I'm rotating it because now this F square is going to be on the bottom left. And you'll know that your piece is set up correctly because all the white are connected and then the golden brown are connected here. So your A pieces and your B pieces should be aligned. And even this center diamond here matches up. So again, it has the 4 seams. So I'm folding that right sides together, matching them up, and then clipping them into place. And hopefully they sew and look nice once I sew them together, because they're lining up really nicely right now. So, and since we need 2 sections, we are gonna do it for both here. I'm gonna show you one in the video, but I am going to clip these 3 together and sew that one as well. Okay, so the pieces are still small enough that I can use my pressing mat here. So now our arrows, we're pressing up towards 8A and then down towards 8B, excuse me. So up towards 8B and down towards 4A. So this is my 8B piece. It has the F square in the top left corner. So I'm going to press the back first, and then gently open it and press my seams. And again, you can see this was a little crinkled from where I had stored it in the bag. So I'm just gonna give that a press now, so it helps it lay flat over time. Another thing that I do is, as I'm ironing or putting it together, if there's like little stray pieces of fabric like this here, I'm going to actually cut out because it's not pulling easy. But I try to clean up the top of my quilt as I'm going along. Okay, and I'll slide this up. So our 4A piece is being pressed towards the bottom. So again, I'm just doing my seams on the back first, and then gently opening that up. I notice sometimes that with the as it gets bigger, sometimes the seams want to flip back on themselves. So if you see me flipping or looking at the back side of the quilt, I'm just making sure that the seams are being pressed in the correct direction. All right, and that looks great. So I have one of the sections done, and so now I'm going to repeat this for the second section that I need. Okay, so we have just finished up the making the left and right sections of the center row. I have both of them sewed and pressed here. So now we're on the next page. We are completing the center row. So we need our big section that we sewed in the beginning. So I'm going to grab that, and I have that here. And I'm looking at the corners. So on the left, top left is our fabric E, and on the top right is our fabric D. And though not all 4 corners are the same. So make sure that when you are laying this out, that you have it laid out correctly. So for lemonade, our E fabric is the blue and our D fabric is the teal. So that's really important because although it like the center looks similar and whatnot, the corners are different. So now we are going to attach our sections that we just sewed to the left and right side. And so pay attention to our A fabric. In our case, it's the white fabric for lemonade. So on this side, it's going to be on the right, and on this side, it's going to be on the left. So I'm starting to run out of some space, but just to show you, over here, here's it on the right, and then this piece will need to be rotated here to the left. So our A fabric is on the left-hand side. So this piece is getting very large for the table that I'm working on. So now what I'm going to do is clip both sides together and sew them. But again, just like all the other sections, every single square that has a seam and rectangle matches up. So be very mindful. So to give you an example, when I'm turning it on right sides together, I am going to take my time, turn it so that I can see it and match up every single seam, making sure that I'm pinning them in the correct direction, because I want it to be as lined up as possible. So as you can probably tell, I have moved to my floor because it is getting so large that I need to be able to open it up completely. So we are finishing up this step here, and our arrows are pointing to the right for our right hand piece and our left to the left hand side. So we are going to be pressing the seams out, and how I'm doing that is I have my wool mat. So I am just placing it underneath where the seam is that I need to iron. And I'll just move my mat as I go along. So if you have an ironing board, that is probably helpful with it being like longer. But I'm just making what I have work for me. And I think that's the most important thing. Like, you don't need all the fancy gadgets. You can just make it work with what you have. And I'm just using like a cheap Black & Decker iron. Works fine. And then again, this is one of those long seams. So I'm going to make sure that it is not folded onto itself from... Then again, I apologize, I'm right-handed, so I'm trying to do this as best so I can show you. And then again, not ironing back and forth, just pressing down my seams from the front. And I'll adjust it again. And you can see I'm pulling out the little extra strings now, saves me time later on. And then that side looks great. So I'm going to work on my left side, but I'm just actually going to flip it around just so I can access it better. I'm right-handed, so. And repeating the same process over here. And you can, if you have like a clapper it's like a wooden tool that helps the seams lay flat, that's really helpful. I don't have one, So I'm just pressing for a little bit longer of time, or what I feel it needs to really flatten out that seam. And again, just adjusting it so I can catch the bottom here. All right, so that completes our center section. Okay, so I have set aside the center row, and now we are making the second and the fourth rows. So we need section 9A, 2A, 8A, 7A, and 5A. So I already have them laid out on my floor. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip them all at once, or lay them out all at once. So that way I can clip them all at the same time and sew multiple at the machine. So again, I'm doing it on the floor, so I have plenty of space. Our first section is 9A. So that's one of these here. And I'm turning it so our F square is to the top right. And then I have our 2A section, which is one of the smaller ones here. And I'm leaving the sticky note on the other side so I don't get anything confused. Now for this one, our B triangle needs to be in the top left and our D triangle in the bottom right, touching that F square. Okay, then we need an 8A. And for 8A, our A triangles are on the bottom. So you can see it matches up with that white. And then we need a 7A. And this one needs our AC triangle in the top left and this A rectangle in the bottom left. So again, you'll see that the white are all matching up. And then our last one is another 5A. But you need to pay attention to the F square because this one is going to be in our top right. This side over here is our top left. So it's the mirror image. So what I'm going to do next is, now that I have that all laid out, I'm going to clip them all together and I'm going to do both rows at the same time. And actually one more thing before I clip them. If you pay attention, again, it's like all these, even if they're half square triangles, make squares or the mini rectangle. So every single seam is going to match again. So I'm going to really take my time lining those seams up. I have both sections laid out and I'm going to work right from left because they are being pressed in different directions. So our first seam is being pressed towards the right. So again, I'm just folding that on itself. pressing this back side first and then opening it, making sure I'm not pulling on that seam. And then I just press from the front, just like all the other times. Okay. And then for our next section, it's being pressed towards this middle square or middle rectangle here. So again, I'm going to fold this on itself and press that left side. And gently open it. Okay, and then we're reversing it for the next side. So this seam here is going to be pressed towards the right, towards the center. So I'm going to get the back. And again, opening it on itself. I find that with the sections, sometimes it is harder when I flip them to get the seam going the correct way. Like the seam wants to flip back on itself. Okay, and then this last section on the left, our seam is going to press towards the left. And then open that up again and press from the front. And then I'm going to repeat for the other section, the top one. Okay, so now we are making the top and bottom rows, and we have a few different steps here. So we need to do step 1 and 2 first. So we need a 6C, a 3B, and a 6D section. So I already have them laid out here. And just be mindful, 6C and 6D look almost exactly the same. The only difference is that orientation of this D fabric. But before we can do anything, we have to attach some D strips to the top of our 3B section, and those come with your Clue 10. So in here we have some treats from Cotton Cuts. We have our 2 different strips, D fabric and E fabric. Actually, I think there's 3 different strips. And then the brown, I believe, is for, so you can cut for the binding. So I'm just grabbing my D strips now, and we are going to attach, we have 2 of them, and they are going to go above our 3B section. And we want to make sure that our 3B section is positioned so that the D triangles are on the top, so that way when they come together like this, it's going to line up. And that in the center, your A fabric is facing up. And then we are going to lay our D fabric above it. And as you can see, it's a little bit longer, so you can measure and cut first. But what I do is I like to clip it first, so I'm going to clip them right sides together. I usually overhang a little bit on one side, just a tiny bit, and then the rest I'll hang over all the remaining edge. You can see that the right hand side actually has like 2 or 3 inches of overhang, and I prefer to sew it first and then trim it, just in case anything shifts and I am not shorting myself on that strip. Okay, and then I'm going to repeat the same for this top section and then sew them along at the 1/4 inch along the seam allowance. Okay, so I have just finished sewing both of the D strips to the 3B section, and we need to press our seams up towards that D piece. So again, I'm just pressing from the back first. And I haven't trimmed the edge yet, where the D fabric overhangs. I'll do that after. Okay, and then I'm gently opening this up. And again, pressing from the correct side. And I'm just making sure that my seams underneath are all still going the same way for that 3B section. All right, I'll press the other one after. So now I have this overhang here. And what I'm going to do first is I just have this little cutting mat from the Dollar Tree. And take one of my acrylic rulers. Line it up. Just to make sure that my edge is even. This side here on the left, when I sewed it, actually worked out perfectly. So now we have to attach our 6C section on the left and our 6D section on the right. So you want to make sure that your centerpiece, the D strip, is facing up, and then on the left and the right we have our A fabric in the corners, and you can see our D fabric lines up here and here. We do have a seam, but since this is one long piece, we don't have to worry about lining anything up. I think that's like the first time this whole quilt. And I'm just going to clip both sides. And I'm going to repeat the same for my other section. I'll do that off camera. And then I'm going to bring it to the machine and sew each side at the 1/4 inch seam allowance. All right, so we have a couple different steps that we need to do. So first, let's press our seams, and both of them are being pressed to the outside. So the right-hand side is going to be pressed toward the right, and the left-hand side to the left. And I'm going to do the second one off camera. We're repeating the same step, but I want to show you what comes next. And I'm just pressing that seam here because it seemed like it was popping up a little bit. The same over here. All right. So now we are on step 3, and we actually need 3A and 6A. So I have my 6A here, and that is going to be on the right-hand side. I want my D rectangle to the right, and then my 3A is going to be on the left-hand side. And as you can see, the D rectangle is on the left and it matches up. So before we can connect it to the long strip, we need to sew both of these together. We don't have to match up any seams. The edges just should line up correctly. And I'm going to clip it and then clip the other and sew both of these at the machine. Okay, so I have just sewn the sections 3A and 6A, and our seams are going to be pressed towards the left. So I'm just going to do both of them at once. Such a small section. Again, I'm pressing that back side. And actually, let me just double check because I want to make sure that, all right, yep, see, we want our A triangles to be facing up. So let me just make sure again. It's very easy to get these flipped around. So I'm very happy that I just double checked. And it's not a huge deal if you press the seams to the wrong side. It just doesn't nest as nicely. But still, it just helps with it all coming together. All right, so I'm going to put one of these to the side so I can show you on camera the next one. Okay, so what we have to do is attach this 3A, 6A piece to one of the steps that we just did in step 2. And as you can see, I'm going to line up my center first. And I'm just double checking because to my eye, I was like, oh, is this supposed to be like this? And it is. So right here, it shows our E triangles are across from each other and our C triangles are across from each other. So the only section that I can see that has a seam on this one that lines up is the middle here. So I'm going to flip this right sides together and make sure that I get that middle nested nicely and clip that one first. And then I'm going to work my way out. Actually, these seams here too. The next seam on the right and the left will also nest where that flying geese ends up. Okay, yes, but the rest do not. So I'm just going to go across. I am putting clips where the seams are. This helps me keep it straight, but I'm not worried about them matching up with the seam above it. And I'll repeat the process on this side. This is that seam again that I was talking about matching up. And then just repeating it, going across. And I'm going to repeat this process, clipping the other sections here. And then I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and then sew across the bottom at the 1/4 inch. Okay, so I have just finished sewing on that step 3. So now, step 4. So now we need to press our seams and they're being pressed up. So I'll show you with one of them and then I'll do obviously the second one off camera. Okay, and then gently open this up. And again, when they get so long, I always have trouble. And we are just pressing that seam from the front side. All right, so now that we have our seam pressed, we have our last step. So we have 4 of our section 1s, and at this point you shouldn't have any other leftover pieces except for what was in your clue 10. So we are going to add these squares to the left and the right in step 5. So we want to make sure I have my long D strip facing up still, just double checking that everything is positioned and how it should. And then now we want to put this square, so this blue E fabric is in the top left, and then we want to make sure we're rotating it and that this one is in the top right. So it's very important. Make sure that you don't accidentally rotate these pieces. So again, you want your blue triangle in the top left and the top right. And then we are just going to clip them together. There's actually no seams. Yeah, no seams that match up on either side. So you can just fold them right sides together and clip them nicely. And I'm going to do that for both of the strips and take it to the machine to sew those edges all at once. So again, I always like to lay it out and then make sure I'm flipping it right sides together while it's laid out. And that helps me so I don't accidentally turn any blocks around, and especially right now when it's so easy to do that. Okay, and then now that I have this clip, I'm going to do it for the other one, where I take it to the machine and sew along the sides. Okay, I realized that I forgot to do a time lapse of just sewing it, but that's all I did was actually sew it. So now we're just pressing our seams to the outside. So each side is being pressed towards that square that we just added. Okay, I'm going to repeat for this side here. And then after this, we're going to start laying out the whole quilt. We'll see how much space I have in here and what I can do, but I might have to move to a different room where I have more floor space. All right, so this just finishes up that bottom section. So these are going to be the top and bottom rows. So make sure that you have them all separate, because you can see down here, we're going to start putting it together. And we're going to Okay, so you can see that I have laid out the quilt. Not all sections yet. I have my second section here, my center, which is the third, and then our fourth one, which is on the bottom. And what I want you to be mindful of is these F squares. On this second piece, we have it, facing, if we call this up. On this fourth piece, we need to turn it around facing down. So you have to mirror those two. If you don't, your F squares are not going to line up. So if you have it in the correct position, you will see that it starts to create these diamond shapes going all the way around, and our F squares are all diagonal with each other. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to sit on the floor, and every single one of these matches up, these squares and rectangles matches up the seams. So I'm going to take my time and clip along here and here, and then take it to the machine and sew. I've just sewn on the second and the fourth rows and pressed the seams. So now I have the top row and the bottom row laid out. And you can see that they're mirror images of each other. So just to make sure that you have your quilt going the correct way, you should have the E fabric, which for lemonade is blue, in all four corners. And then on this last section here, the strip of D fabric should be along the bottom and along the very top. And you can also line up, check with your F squares here, which are these bright yellow, because they will fit right in with the pattern. So now I'm going to clip them again. Most of the seams match up. So I am going to clip it together, take it to the machine and sew it, and then press the seams, the top seam towards the top and the bottom seam towards the bottom. We have just attached our top and our bottom and pressed the seams to the top and bottom respectively. And so now we have to add our borders that came in clue 10. So it is piece E, or fabric E, and you have two longer, skinnier piece E's. Those are going to be your left and your right borders, and then two thicker ones, which are going to go on the top and the bottom. So I'm showing this all at once, but what I'm going to do first is we are going to attach the left and right sides. And in the instructions, it does say to like measure it and trim it, but I'm going to do it the same way I did this strip down here, where I'm actually going to sew it first and then trim the edge. So I'm going to take this to the machine and sew the left and the right borders, trim them down, press the seams to the outsides, and then I'm going to repeat that same process for the top and the bottom borders, and again, trim them down and press them to the outside. All right, so we have finished up our small lemonade. If you ordered extra borders, they should also be shipping with your Clue 10. Mine do not, or I did not order extra borders, so I do not have them as part of the tutorial. But it's all done, and I'm so excited. I cannot wait to get it all long-armed and quilted up. Hi everyone, so this was my quilt for the live reveal this past Friday for Cotton Cuts Carnival, but I just got the best surprise. They actually sent me a border kit. So I'm really excited. I have not done a border kit yet, so I'm going to show you how I put that on as well. So thank you again for Cotton Cuts for sending that to me and allowing me to be an ambassador. Okay, so in the border kit, we have our 4.5-inch borders and our 1.5-inch. So on the quilt, the first one is going to be the 1.5 all the way around, and then our 4.5 on the outside. So in here, there are 4 strips already pre-cut. Well, there should be. All right, perfect. So what I'm going to do, I just dropped one on the floor, is I'm going to start with my long ones on the sides, and I'm just going to attach it in the directions it tells you to like measure from your center and like cut all your pieces and such. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to take it to my machine, put it right sides together, and then attach the left and the right sides, and then the shorter ones to the top and the bottom of the quilt. All right, so you could see that I didn't even clip it as I was sewing. I was just holding it in place. So now I'm going to trim the two tails off. So this is what they were saying. It tells you to measure it ahead of time and trim it. I always end up either having too much or too short. So I don't like trimming it till after. So that is exactly what I'm doing now. And I've attached our yellow fabric, the shorter strips, to the longer vertical sides. And so now I'm going to repeat the same process with the top and the bottom.
Whoops.
And I haven't pressed my seams yet either. I'll press them afterwards. Mostly because I'm just being lazy right now and want to do all the sewing at once. All right, so I just trimmed off the edges, and I'm going to continue on the top and the bottom. All right, so we have just finished adding on the borders. The quilt is so large now that I wasn't even able to pin it all the way across, but I think it looks absolutely stunning. This is the first one I've ever done with the extra borders, and it's just so beautiful. It really amps it up even more. So thank you again to Cotton Cuts for allowing me to be an ambassador and post all these videos and tutorials. I've had the best time. I hope you guys are joining me along on Tree of Life. I'm sewing up Moonlit. And if you're catching this while it's the end of April, early May 2024, the new puzzle mystery quilt is coming out at the end of May, the Wild West. So May 31st, you'll be able to start signups. And as always, if you found this tutorial helpful, please consider giving it a thumbs up or subscribing to my channel. Thank you so much. Bye.